What's up, y'all? I appreciate you coming back for another video of Dads Don't Die. Key number one was that gifting type key, where as a dad that was gifting his son something that was far bigger than just a truck or a vehicle. But key number two is a little bit different. These keys, or key, I should say, a lot more modern, happens to be a Honda key. This key, we were living in a small town a little bit north of Austin, Texas. And it was a given random weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I was working from home at the time, back in 2021, still during all that peak of COVID craziness. And my wife had taken my two boys to get their haircut. And so just working from home and doing my normal Zoom calls, nonsense or whatnot that work from home life is. And looking down at the time, and Sarah and the boys should be back by now. I'm not sure what's going on, but had another call, sent another Slack, whatever. All of a sudden, I get a phone call from Sarah, my wife, and I pick it up, and all it is screaming. And I have no idea what's going on, but I hear screaming from her. I hear screaming from the boys. Doesn't really make sense. And I can remember her just screaming, "Help." She started screaming, "Help. We're in here, help." I didn't know what was going on. No context, but we had the Find My Friends turned on our phones, and so jumped up out of my home office and got in my truck and drove to her location. As I pull up to where it says she should be, I see a huge scene. And I think, there's no way. I'm God, please. As I get closer, I notice the traffic's all backed up and there's flares in the road and police cars, fire trucks. And I don't know what's going on. And so I'm not going to just sit in traffic. So I get in if you're familiar with Texas kind of main roads, they're typically separated by a pretty decent size grass kind of area that separates them. And so I go through the grass and I pull up to where it shows that she's getting closer. And I notice a Honda Odyssey that's the one that's involved. And so I punch her even more to get closer, seeing maybe that's just a different one. There's hundreds of Odysseys in this area. There's no way that's our van. I get closer and I start to realize that the fire department's holding one of my boys. And as a dad, it's one of the most terrifying phone calls looking back at it now. When you just hear your kids screaming for help, you can't be there. Your wife screaming for help and you can't be there because you're on a Zoom call. Not that I would have ever known or could have known, but just that feeling of that you need to be the protector, the provider. They needed you. And I jump out, and by that time my wife was already in the back of an ambulance, and both of my youngest son was in an ambulance. I think he was a little over 1.5 at the time, and Noah was 4. The fire department was holding him as he was covering his ears, screaming. And there was a terrible accident. My life completely changed that day. See, a man that was 81 years old at the time, a retired pilot, but 81, had ran a red light across one of these main Texas roads in Austin, where the speed limit of where my wife was coming and traveling with our boys on was a 60, 65 mile an hour speed limit. And he ran a red light to cross that main road, and she T-boned him. And it was not good. What this key represents is a little bit more of loss and what that took away from me, because I soon found out in the week or two after that I had 3 other humans that needed me in such a different type of way that I couldn't fulfill, I couldn't do. Still trying to work full time and knowing that, she had a hard time getting up out of bed and had back problems now for what will be the next few years. Still does today. My boys did not want to get in a car for a very long time. My youngest son had burns from the airbags on his head and had his gallbladder torn. But sometimes keys can also be something that changes us and changes our lives. And you never know when that day is going to happen. You never know when you're going to get that call that it's your family that was in the accident, or it's your family the fire department's having to cut out of their car. And a day that many of us hope that never happens to us during our life. And unfortunately, I had to experience that day. But I'm thankful I have now, because I understand what that's like and how heavy that can be. And how important it is to still show up afterwards and not let that situation throw you off or throw you into such a deep hole that it changes you and how you show up as a man. You have to keep showing up even when it's so hard, and fight that bitterness and anger that another human made a choice that harmed your family. And our lives are still not the same. But a key can also be something that changes your life as well.